finally I found an old stool to put my books on because that little table was so short I couldn't even get it in the shot. Okay, I think we're ready to start. These are my favorite 7 outdoor motivation books of all time, and I read them over and over, and I want to share them with you. Let's do it. I will say that this shirt is a stretch for me. It's much too light in color, which usually instantly gets dirty, but since we're talking about books, I'm hoping I can stay clean enough just to get through this video. There's a lot of helicopters. One of the drawbacks of filming outdoors, I can't control anything out here. I guess that's the beauty at the same time. Okay, it's probably as quiet as it's gonna get. So I don't usually sit outside and read books, but it's a lot more fun to talk about books while sitting outside than just being on the couch inside. That's just much too boring for me. So this is my current setup. Hopefully nothing else gets in the way sound-wise, or sap or a pine cone hits me in the head. You know, really anything could happen. If you're the type of person that likes to read reviews, there's a link in the description for an article that talks about all these books. Okay, the first caveat though is these are not all outdoor books. It's not like these are all great adventures of things people have done that nobody really can attain unless you're like superhuman. Those are not the ones that inspire me. So while these aren't outdoor, all related books, they are my favorite books that have actually changed my outdoor life. It just happens for me that these drive me to push harder when I'm outside. And now that I'm obsessed with gravel racing and really want to get into that, I need as much motivation as I can possibly get. Okay, so here they are in no particular order except for the fact that I read them in this order. Wow. Bird is angry. I think I'm probably near a nest. There is the biggest, furriest bumblebee behind me. He is making so many bumble sounds. It's very distracting. Okay, so book number 1 is The Joy of Living. I first read this book about 10 years ago when I was still in the corporate world and struggling with the age-old, with that age-old work-life balance issue. I was exhausted, I needed a change. I was definitely not being joyful about living. When you think about it, enjoying life is a pretty simple concept, but the number one thing that you really need to learn how to do is to let go of controlling everything. You can't be a control freak. The go with the flow mind state does wonders for you, especially for me when it comes to my outside world. And who better to teach you than a Buddhist master? Yeah, he seems to know how to do it. This book is great. It's tattered. I still am reading it again for like the 5th time. This is a good one. I will never get rid of this book. If you just read the title on this one to yourself and leave it at that, you'll probably already be doing better. You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero is really solid. Her personality is contagious. If you have a list of excuses that you give yourself for not doing something, she will completely pulverize them in this book, like chop meat, pulverize. And then you'll be embarrassed that you even thought them in the first place, and you will not bring them back into your thoughts. She's like the really honest friend that everyone says they want, but then you love and hate them at the same time. This one is a keeper. This book is big. It's kind of hard to travel with this one, so you probably want to leave it on your side table. I really like Marie. I think that she's easy and fun to listen to. She's one of those people that has a voice that's like soothing but peppy at the same time, so you don't really get tired of listening to her. Everything is Figureoutable is a great title, and it's actually a really simple concept that we kind of forget most of the time when we're trying to do things that are hard and difficult. Her book is just really matter of fact. It's kind of like that idea when people say, oh, it's not like rocket science, even though we absolutely figured out rocket science. She really goes into the whole concept of it just comes down to you believing in yourself and deciding if, you know, other people could figure it out, so could you. And if it hasn't been done yet, then someone has to do it, so might as well be you that comes up with it. I really like how she takes big dreams and kind of chunks them up into like little tiny digestible bites, and then by the end you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I actually accomplished that. She's really good for that. She's a pretty positive person with like a little bit of like funky in her. These two go together. The Untethered Soul is the first book, and then the Surrender Experiment is the second one. If you read this one first, it makes this one make a little more sense, and it's a little easier to digest, but I guess you could just read this one to start off. This book is so interesting to me. It just seems so unbelievable. Even though it's the recount of Michael Singer's life, it's pretty far out there, I will say that. The Surrender Project is 40 years or something of his life, where essentially he goes by the principle of, I'm gonna stop trying to control everything, and whatever happens, happens, and I'm gonna go with the flow. This is like the ultimate go with the flow book, but in a real person's life. I am fascinated by the fact that someone could live that way for like their entire adult life. I cannot do that. If I just take away a little bit from this book and can just let go of a few things here or there, I will be in such a better place, especially as I'm trying to do new things with the gravel racing or with bike packing, things I don't know anything about. Just letting go a little bit will take me really far in those. He did it his whole life, so I'm just gonna, hope for like a tiny little percentage of that and see where that takes me. I had to read both of his books twice before they really sunk in and I was able to apply them. But I was so fascinated the first time that I read it, I just had to go back again. And it is one of my favorites. I mean, it's one of my top 7. It's not the easiest read, but it's just fascinating how someone could do that. And the fact that it all worked out for him tremendously in the end is the completely mind-boggling part. It actually reminds me of that movie that Jim Carrey did, and he had to just say yes to anything. That's like this guy's whole life. You should just give it a go. My friend recommended this to me, and I could not be more thankful to her for suggesting that I give this book a read. A comfort crisis is like an everyday experience. Honestly, if I wanted to be comfortable, I'd probably never come outside. I'd fall into that comfort trap of I just want to be comfy and have it be easy. I just stay inside, and I would never push or do anything outdoors, especially if it was hard, because hard means uncomfortable, and therefore comfort crisis. Being uncomfortable sucks. Trying new things is hard. It's just human nature that we don't want to do that stuff. And this book is an awesome recount of parts of the author's life where he's pushed himself, things about history and science and the world of comfort and how that kind of fits into human nature, all wrapped in together. This book is really the perfect mix of real life and facts to just push you to say, just get up, just go do it, and don't complain. Just make things happen. This is a make it happen kind of book. I love it. And I've tried to get a lot of people to read it. I tried to get Alex to read it, but he's more of a like science fiction kind of guy. So, this is like too real life for him. But I just make sure I tell him like every single page what it says. And so, then I feel like he's absorbing it too. Skinny, tiny book. Probably one of the hardest books I've ever read. You're gonna be like, Jamie, how can 60 pages be so hard? It's hard. The writing style of this book is challenging. I say that because you just need to push through it. This is definitely one of my favorites. It kind of has a crazy title, The Science of Getting Rich. This book is not a pyramid scheme. This is not some like sleazy get rich quick idea. It really has nothing to do with that at all. This is a good old school dose of what you think, and the passion that you feel in your heart is exactly what's going to happen in your life. It's powerful, it's funky. Some people get through the preface and hate the author. You just have to read the entire book, which, I mean, you just read this in like one night. It's a good reminder of what you think is what surrounds you. You attract what you project. If you're a negative, crappy person, you're just going to be surrounded by people that are not uplifting you and that are terrible. If you're a positive person, you think good things, you talk about things like they're already active in your life, good things are going to come to you, and you're going to be positive, and you're going to push, and you're going to do more. And I need to remember this, not in trying to get rich, but as I try to start racing and as I try to start exploring the world more in bike packing, and I get frustrated and I don't know what I'm doing, I have to remember my positive mind state is going to completely control my experience out there. It could be awful because I'm making it awful, or it can be amazing because I'm making it amazing. This one anyone, this is a good read. My last book on the list, this is the number 7, Solo by Jenny Tuff. I really hope that Tuff is actually her last name. I know a lot of people use pen names for their books because it absolutely fits her. She is probably one of the toughest people that I've read about in a book and what she has accomplished. Her monumental feats of deciding, hey, I think I'll just run across the world, literally, is not exactly something I want to do or aspire to do. That's not the point in what I got from this book. Her tenacity, her belief in herself that she could pull it off as a solo female athlete, mind you, all around the world, 6 continents, is very inspiring to me. And if I pull just a little bit of that toughness from her and apply that to what I'm trying to do, especially when I'm doing things outdoors that I am not good at, I'm uncomfortable, like my previous comfort crisis, that will go so far for me if I just try to think about, oh my gosh, the things that she accomplished is like insane to me that someone would be able to do that. I can go on this bike ride. I'm not trying to circumnavigate the globe with my running shoes. So I try to take a little piece of that, but this book is very inspiring in the fact that she accomplished something that I don't believe anyone else has actually done. I think that's what makes this so impressive. I think she was the first one, if not the first one of all time, and then I think she's at least the first female that's done it. So this is my latest read, and I will probably read this one again too. I'm just gonna need to give it a little time since I just read it. And this book doesn't have to have anything to do with you wanting to only be inspired by women. She is just a badass in general in what it is that she accomplished. Her story should inspire anyone to try something that is like this hard compared to what it is that she pulled off. And she goes through the fact that she's not anybody special. She's not a super athlete. She doubted herself many, many times, but she never gave up. In her journey, she did it. And for that, that's killer. My last book to talk about is not part of my top 7, but it's definitely a honorable mention. She Explores. This book is full of short stories about women doing amazing things outside, whether it's through art or creativity or adventure or environmentalism or sustainability, all of the above. It has any sort of like outdoor mantra to it. And I would say out of all the books that I've read, this is the single book that's held the most inspirational people that I've also then chosen to follow in their journey through their social media or their blogs or their websites. If you're looking for people to inspire you on your outdoor adventures, you might find a lot of them inside of this book. The stories are short, they're like 1 or 2 pages, just an inspirational punch for each one of the women that it talks about. It's just a great way to find names that maybe you wouldn't find elsewhere. You can look them up and then you can follow them and get even more inspiration in your life. I'm gonna keep coming back to this stack. Hopefully I get to add a couple more to it. But I do have one last piece of advice when it comes to reading and especially the outdoor world. Please don't get stuck in the pages. Reading and learning and studying and being inspired by others, that's all great. But you gotta get out there and do what you're passionate about. It's the doing, it's not just the reading. Once you get out there and explore and learn, you'll become an inspiration to someone else. There's no greater compliment than to have someone say, oh, you inspired me to do that. So keep reading, keep learning, but make sure you do and do a lot. Be passionate, be inspiring, be inspired. Go get it. I'll see you outside. Bye.